Okay, so now let me tell you about another type of hormone you never heard about, and those are eicosanoid hormones. So take a moment and say that name, eicosanoid. So these are hormones produced by cells that have paracrine signaling. In other words, they're going to affect nearby cells. And they are made by oxidizing fatty acids and producing this intermediate chemical arachidonic, which is the same thing as a arachidonic acid. And the arachidonic acid then can be broken up either into the prostaglandins or the leukotrienes. So leukotrienes are pro-inflammatory. So they're going to increase an inflammatory reaction. So we'll learn a lot more about that when we come back and we study the lymphatic system and what the inflammatory reaction is. And blocking these leukotrienes is important in some diseases, specifically chronic asthma, where giving a leukotriene blocker is now the mainstay of treatment to try to prevent an acute asthma attack. So in addition to the leukotrienes, the other big group of eicosanoid hormones are the prostaglandins, which includes prostacyclins. And basically, most of our prostaglandins and the function that we're going to be talking about this semester has to do with smooth muscle contraction. So this affects the uterus as well as other organs, including the breast. And a subgroup of prostaglandins that we're not usually talking about when we mention, oh, prostaglandin effects, is a group of hormones which are thromboxanes. And as we'll learn when we study the cardiovascular system, specifically blood clotting, we will learn that thromboxanes are important for the second step in coagulation, which is platelet aggregation. So the production of these hormones, all of these breakdown products of arachidonic acid, can be blocked by different drugs, which generally can be called anti-inflammatory. So when we look at the formation of arachidonic acid, we can see that its formation is totally blocked by the use of our steroids. So when you get an injection of a steroid locally or intravenously, or you're taking prednisone or another steroid by mouth, you're preventing the formation of all of these compounds. Now, if we haven't given steroids, because there's a lot of side effects to steroids, and so we don't give them willy-nilly, there's got to be a big reason for it, and you do form arachidonic acid, we still can block the formation of these other compounds. As I mentioned before, we have this whole category of drugs now which prevent the formation of leukotrienes, which asthmatics take. And if you're asthmatic, you should recognize these are the generic names of drugs that block its formation. Now, in order to go from arachidonic acid to form our prostaglandins, there is an enzyme or enzymes, which are the COX enzymes, which stands for cyclooxygenase, and you don't need to know that detail for this course. And so we can block the action of these COX enzymes, thereby preventing the formation of the prostaglandins with various common over-the-counter medications, such as aspirin and your non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. So we'll come back and talk later on when we're talking about blood clotting, the effect of aspirin and non-steroidal anti-inflammatories on the effect of the thromboxanes with platelet aggregation. But for now, let me just talk about its effect on prostaglandins. And so by non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, we're talking things like ibuprofen. So we have Aleve and we have Advil. So we have different categories of these drugs, and they will prevent the formation of the prostaglandins, thereby preventing the smooth muscle contraction in the uterus. So ladies, if you take those medications before you have your menstrual cramps, you won't have the cramps and need to take a pain medication afterwards. All right, the last concept I want to talk about has to do with modulation. by changing the number of receptors in the target cell for the hormone. So the concept known as upregulation means that the target cell increases the number of hormone receptors, thereby making it more sensitive to the hormone. And then obviously the opposite of upregulation would be downregulation, where you're decreasing the number of the hormones. So this actually happens if, for instance, you have a continuously high level of a hormone. If somebody is taking a hormone by mouth and you have the sustained high level, the target cells are going to down-regulate this because it knows it has this continuously high level. And with that, we are done with the introductory components. So I will see you shortly as you start your exploration of the endocrine system in hormone by hormone in detail. Thank you for all your work and for your enthusiasm for this class.